We have a veteran who has spent decades shaping the minds of the next generation. Please put your hands together for the Vice Chancellor of Adamas University, Suranjan Das ji. Please join us on the stage. और उनसे काफी सारे आउट ऑफ सिलेबस सवाल आज पूछने के लिए हमने चेतन को बुलाया है. चेतन, वेलकम टू द स्टेज एज वेल एंड इट्स ओवर टू यू.
Hi, sir. So, you've been Vice Chancellor at lots of universities. Did you, something scary about meeting, principal's office? Do you get people, do you do discipline stuff also?
Well, I make a fundamental difference between academic administration and general administration.
Acha.
Academic administration is always bottom up. It is always participatory management.
Okay.
So, I have discipline, but I've always interacted, and that has worked.
Okay. नहीं आप
I have been
शरारती बच्चे हैं आपके कॉलेज में?
Sorry?
शरारती बच्चे आते हैं?
See, I mean, when I was in Jadavpur University, I've been get out for 50 hours, 55 hours. But
50 hours?
For 2 days.
Why?
But,
What did they want?
well, I thought there were a lot of legitimate demands because when I was a student, I was also in student politics. When I was in Oxford, I was the president of Oxford University Students' Union, the third person from South Asia to be. But some of the demands I couldn't fulfill because there I had to look to the government support and so on. Okay. But I always interrogated, and that happened.
I'll come back to education, but I saw your resume, and actually you are done a lot of work on Southeast Asian relationship, foreign policy. Yeah. So thoda I'll get greedy and ask you one or two questions, that especially because Ideas of India conference, there's been a lot of sessions on foreign policy. Of course, we have had big experts come here, but aapki bhi main raay lena chahta hu. I've been noticing, we have many neighbors. We have Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, China. If you count, there's Burma also, Maldives, sort of maritime neighbor. Little bit border with Afghanistan also, which is okay. So, I want your view, but जहाँ तक मैं देख रहा हूँ सबसे कोई ना कोई पंगा हो रहा है.
Yes and no. I mean,
how do you rate out of 10? Let's say you are a teacher also, so grades, okay, yeah. 1 to 10 CGPA. Our relationship with all our major neighbors.
Well, I think 9 out of 10.
With Pakistan?
Even with Pakistan, because we have not been drawn into a
Sir, आप बड़े liberal marks दे रहे हो.
Because it's very difficult to say anything on foreign policy after hush punt. But I would say that one of the basic features of India's relationship with the neighboring countries is that we have a civilizational link. And that civilizational link needs to be fostered. And if we can foster that, there could be miracles. Can I give you one example from my own experience? See, I've been quite involved in what was called the confidence building measures, even at the height of Indo-Pakistan conflict. So once I was going to Islamabad for a conference, confidence building measures. Now, you cannot take a flight directly from Delhi to Islamabad. You have to go to Lahore and then Lahore to Islamabad. So I took the flight from Delhi to Lahore. And when I went to, the clearing desk to get the boarding card for Islamabad, I was told that you have to go back, pay a fees, because in Pakistan, you have to also pay a domestic fee. I said, I don't have Pakistani rupee. And if I have to change the dollars, I'll miss the flight. So just behind me, there was a beautiful looking Pakistani girl with a card glass English accent. So she asked me, why are you from India? What are you doing here? I said, I've come to for a confidence building workshop. So she said, don't worry, I'll pay the fees, you go ahead. So,
that was just your charm.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. I mean, I always think...
Sir, आपने hint ही नहीं लिया. Okay. Yeah, so you're saying at a people level, it's still...
Exactly.
Of course, at people level, but I'm saying
exactly.
Diplomatically, you are seeing... Of course, Pakistan is a known, almost permanent conflict situation. But even in Sri Lanka, there were moments, we were very good friends. Even in Bangladesh, now we are trying to repair it. Even Nepal had this anti-India little bit. China, of course, things are not super great, right? I mean, is it inevitable? Are we like, कि हमारे सारे neighbors गरीब हैं, not China, but all the others, and are we like the guy who bought the Honda in the slum? अभी अब ऐसे ये people don't like us, or is it like we are so good that we can't be liked, or is it something with our policies, or is this inevitable, and should we try for friendship, or या फिर डंडा लगा के ही हम रहे कि ध्यान से रहो, we are India?
See, I view foreign policy at two levels. One at the state-to-state relationship and the people-to-people relationship. I mentioned there's a very great civilizational link between India and neighboring states. So if you adopt a people-to-people relationship, the story is completely different when you take into account the state-to-state relationship. And I would say that if there was no big power intervention in the area, there would have been perfect relationship between India and the neighboring states, even with Pakistan, because India has not played into the hands of a provocative Pakistan. So India has a lot of goodwill for the general people of Pakistan. I'll give you a story from my own experience. I was roaming around the bazaars of Islamabad, and at that time there was a great onion crisis in Pakistan. India exported onion to Pakistan, and the people were saying, see, we talk of fighting India, but India is saving us. So I would always say, if there was no big point intervention, particularly the American intervention, there would have been much better relationship between India and the neighboring states. Even
You
Pakistan.
think India-Pakistan, in your view,
Yeah.
it's because विदेशी ताकतें हमारी लड़ाई करवा रही हैं?
That is one major factor.
Oh,
one major
okay.
factor.
I would love to, this is very interesting trajectory, but I have very few time with you, and we have to talk about education.
Yeah.
And India-Pakistan discussion, so you can
Yeah.
have a whole conference on it. So let's talk about education. You're looking at higher education, you look at many top universities, you have your own university now. What do you think of the future of higher education? The average youth, what's going to happen? There's some new policies that have come. What are your views on that? Very quickly, then I will have follow-up questions on that.
Let me first begin by breaking a myth. Everybody makes a critique of Indian higher education, but you have to place it in a context of the colonial rule that we had. And I would say, compared to the countries which won independence almost at the same time that India did, which in history we call the period of decolonization, India has fared much, much better in terms of higher education compared to our neighbors. According to the latest Global Innovation Index, India ranks 4th among the 132 countries that have been viewed, and first amongst the Central Asian and South Asian states. I can cite other examples. So, and Government of India, I would laud the Government of India for taking advantage of this rise of the skill in Indian higher education to introduce certain structural reforms. So the first generation of reforms in education sector has been completed. Now we have to go in for the second generation of reforms, which includes striking a fine balance between the pursuit of excellence, access, equity, internationalization, and adoption of what I call an adaptive pedagogy. We need a fundamental pedagogical revolution. That is the need of the hour.
Okay. You have been a liberal arts background person, historian. India, I don't think parents say, I don't know, maybe some parents do, but like society I grew up in, everybody says science लो, commerce लो, नहीं तो at least like do engineer, doctor, CA, ये सब बनो. Why should someone study liberal arts? लोग कहते हैं job ही नहीं लगती है. History honors क्यों करना है? You know, yeah, आपने किया है, I know, sir. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Because geography honors or even like I think these are great subjects, sociology. But people say there is like, it's a useless degree. Is it a useless degree? And what would you say to people, parents whose kids, like, you know, they are pushing them to not do liberal arts?
Well, it's not a useless degree. I mean, if you go to the West now, there is a fundamental throwback on liberal arts, humanities, etc. And that is also coming to India. We need liberal arts, the pursuit of liberal arts, to destroy what I would call technological determinism. You need ethics to have a good technology. You need an inculcation of cultural values to have good technology. We are speaking on skill education. We need an interrogative generation so that skill could be effectively used in the teaching and learning process. You need humanities and liberal arts to match technological advancement to what I call global citizenship. We are now no longer speaking of national citizenship. We are speaking of what Martin Osborne, the famous American philosopher, said, we need to create students who would be global citizens. So there is requirement to drive a qualitative match between technology and the pursuit of liberal arts and humanities. And I can assure you, things are changing. People are now getting interested in liberal arts and humanities. And as in the West, you know, the problem with India is that we very often adopt Western methodologies at a time when Western methodologies have been already discarded in the West. Now, we have the Western people in the West throwback to humanities and liberal arts that will come to India.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll be a very boring world if we only had accountants and engineers.
Sure.
I can tell you
Sure,
that.
sure.
I have moved from the world of science to liberal arts, sort of. So
Sure.
I do kind of agree with you. We need everything. But there is this other guest in the room these days called AI,
Sure.
which is coming. All the more you are in higher education. The biggest question is intelligence is becoming commodity very soon. It's every year it's getting cheaper, better. On a little phone, you can tell, please write this about our neighboring relations, give an analysis. I can ask you the biggest maths problems, check these accounts, give me whether it's a good investment or not, whatever. It's already happening and it's only going to get better. Doctors, people are putting, yesterday my mother did some medical tests. I just uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said, please analyze this. It gave full, like it just read the PDF, 20 pages and instantly read it. Why padna kyun hai, sir? Kyun padhe?
See, first of all, I do not view education as a commodity. Technology is a commodity, education is not. I make a fundamental difference between teaching and learning. AI can introduce teaching, but it cannot make you learn. There's a qualitative difference between the two. I mean, I'll give you some simple examples. AI has a lot of positive things like that. It enables to integrative learning, personalized learning, so on. But you need people to put inputs into AI. If you don't put right inputs, the end result will be disastrous. I was reading an article the other day where it was shown that in America, for example, there has been an incremental rise of racism once AI became popular. Because the people who are putting inputs, they are doing it with a certain biases. Similar thing is happening in India. So, yes, we would use AI, but as a communicative tool, as a complementary tool, but not at the cost of direct teaching. We should introduce what is called blended learning. So if that is the way, AI can be a wonderful helper.
But a lot of people study to get a job. कि भाई पढ़ोगे तो नौकरी लगेगी. Now, will AI take jobs? I mean, like companies like Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, their stock is at 5-year lows now. In last 1 month, they've lost 20-25% of their value. 1 year, more than a third. These are big companies who used to come to campuses, take away so many engineers. I remember right from my time to even now, they come and take by the lakhs. Now, there are technologies like Claude, like lots of them, which just what these kids were trained to do for 1 year, Infosys would teach them coding. Then they come and turn things into code. Now that's being done by AI very fast, right? Maybe they won't go bankrupt, these companies, but they may not grow. They may not need so many new people, right? Yesterday, there was a news of this guy, Jack Dorsey, a company called Block, which is like a razor pay, kind of like a payment. He fired 40% of the people. 40% in one go. 4,000 people, 10,000, 4,000 jobs gone. The stock went up 24% in one day. So now other companies are like, oh, if we fire people, our stock goes up. CEOs like, I get more bonus, I can buy my wife more diamonds. So let me just do this. What is going to happen to all these higher education, which you will deliver very well using all these hybrid AI thing, but they go out there and there aren't any white collar jobs. Higher education, usually people do higher education to get white collar jobs.
No, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Education does not only produce white collar jobs. I say if the right education, that's why I make a distinction between teaching and learning. If you can provide the learning element to a student, they can cope with any jobs. The problem in particularly Indian higher education has been, we had been a victim of colonial education. We had been a victim of a process where there was no matching of the higher education with industrial needs. Now that is happening. For example, I give you my example from my own university, Adamas University. Adamas University, apart from introducing an excellent teaching learning process, we are the first private state university in Bengal which was accredited by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council with the highest A grade. What we have done is, along with Adamas University, we have also a partner in technology called Adamas Tech. So what we do, we provide AI for all the students. As a result, a student in history or politics or economics, they also know basic knowledge of AI. So they know how to use the knowledge of history and politics and sociology for AI. So therefore, they are getting good jobs because you need people to also to provide the information. You need people to provide the rich and diversified database. Without that, AI cannot deliver the things. The problem was that traditionally there was a disjunction between higher education and technology, and higher education and industry. Once that gap can be addressed, I'm sure the problem that Infosys is suffering will not happen. It's true that 45% of the students who go out, they are not fit for immediate jobs in the industrial sector. That will change definitely.
All right. Thank you, sir. I think that's all we had time for today. But thank you for your views on a very wide range of subjects.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks
you
a
for
lot.
coming, and
Thank
thanks
you
for
very much.
helping
Thank
Islands of
you.
India.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Das, and thank you for saying कि जब AI और technology की बात होती है, liberal arts and humanities matter. That is so important. We need ethics to run our technology. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Kindly stay on the stage as I welcome Yash Mehta, CEO of ABP Education, and Pushant Chakravarti, CFO of the ABP Network, to please present Mr. Das with a memento from Ideas of India. Let's have a huge round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. The big takeaway from this conversation: technology is a commodity, education is not. Thank you very much, Chetan. Look forward to having you back later.
ABP আনন্দ এগিয়ে থাকে এগিয়ে রাখে।